Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to second edition of PGMT's World Green Building Week. Today is the first day of this festival, 20th of September. This festival will go for 4 days till 24th of September. PGMT's World Green Building Week is an annual campaign that empowers all to deliver green buildings, where they call on the building sectors, policy makers, and governments to take urgent action to deliver net zero buildings. The campaign is threefold: for communities, for the planet, or for net zero buildings for economies. With this thought at its core, Premchand Memorial Trust, in association with India Green Building Council and supported by National Real Estate Development Council, NAREDCO, ISHRE, ASHRE, and other prestigious societies, organization is doing a week-long celebrations, PGMT World Green Building Week 2021, wherein each session is being presented by an eminent sustainability stalwarts and exclusively curated for our partner institutions and their students. These 5 web learning sessions span from 20th to 24th September. This event is a tribute to Dr. Premchand, fondly known as father of green building movement in India, and his lifelong commitment to education and sustainability. Dr. Premchand was instrumental in single-handedly creating a green Bharat and ushered in a shift in the way buildings are conceived today, designed and built in India. PGMT's first edition of World Green Building Week in association with IGBC held last year with 8 technical sessions by eminent speakers from the industry on sustainability awareness and knowledge. With architecture, engineering universities, pan-India had participation of over 2,000 students across the country. Now, moving ahead, I would like to invite our inaugural address speaker. We are really glad to welcome you, sir. I would like to welcome Mr. Rajiv Talwar, Emirates Chairman, NAREDCO. Before we have you on board, sir, I would like to share your introduction and profile with our participants. Mr. Rajiv Talwar, ex-IS officer, Chairman, NAREDCO, National Real Estate Development Council, established under the aegis of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India. Mr. Talwar is a past president of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industries, which is a national apex chamber. Also, sir is the past chairman of World Travel and Tourism Council India Initiative. Sir is a member of Board of Directors and CEO of DLF Limited. Rajiv Talwarji has rich and diverse experience spread over 43 years, both as a bureaucrat in government sector as well as in a leadership role in the private sector. A postgraduate and a graduate from St. Stephen College, Delhi University, started his career in 1976 as a banker with State Bank of India. And then in the year of 1978, he was selected for the Indian Administrative Services. During his tenure as an IAS officer from 1978 to 2006, Sir has held many important and critical positions in the central and state governments, as well as in union territories. Mr. Rajiv Talwar has participated in the process of liberalization, reforms, and globalization that took place in India from 1985 onwards, especially during 1991 till 96. So we welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for your precious time, sir.
Can we good afternoon, I have joined.
Thank you, Suresh, sir.
Yes, that's Mr. Suresh's voice.
Yeah, no problem. You should do it. I said you should
chairman do it. Of NAREDCO. And possibly, of course, we're better known for even HUDCO as well as NAREDCO, both of them. Yes.
And I'm really glad and feel really proud to announce that my NAREDCO's Advisory Council Chairman, Mr. Rajiv Talwar, and Council Member, Mr. V. Suresh, both of the legendary speakers are the inaugural speakers for today's session. Thank you so much. Rajiv, sir, Kindly share your words of wisdom with us.
Thank you, Preeti. And I think to everyone who's a part of this webinar, let me welcome everyone. This is a great movement. It must be carried forward. And especially for the not so young, like Mr. Suresh and I, over a lifetime, we've learned the value of what a green building means and how important this green movement is. I'm sure all the technical people here, architects, engineers, and anybody else who's attending it, the truth is that with the 7 billion population in the world on this planet, we have virtually covered most of the corners of the world where habitation can take place. And therefore, to make buildings, first of all, is very important. We must give a pakka house to everyone, and most of all in India, where 50% of any town or city abounds in either slums, jhuggies, or in unauthorized colonies. So there is a movement which should grow, like with the Prime Minister's Awas Yojana, where they have built 1 crore 13 lakh houses of 300 square feet each. I think what we need is something like 5 to 6 crore homes spread all over India for 2 reasons. One, that there should be no room for either slums or unauthorized colonies, and at an affordable rate. I would probably put it at something like maybe 50 rupees per day maximum should be the rental. And in that, you not only provide room for people who normally stay in slums, but more so for the young people who are coming in. First, home to be taken on rent, ease of mobility. If you want to leave one city for another, go to another one, welcome to move in there. A similar tenement should be available over there at a very affordable rent. And the moment we are able to get 5 to 6 crore such homes, then you would very well know that there would be no market left for either slums, unauthorized colonies, or for raising rentals. The rental should be so affordable that everyone should get a good, clean home, pakka home. So therefore, there should be no possibility that in any pandemic or ever any movement, there should be migrants who are heading back to their villages. Because anyone who has a pakka house, why would he leave it? He can certainly take time, savings come about, the lifestyle changes, your total life changes over there for women and for girls especially. Your education clusters come close by. Your industries will, wherever they are in that town, wherever employment is, will be within reach. And you would be assured that, yes, maybe there's a tough time. Maybe during a lockdown, there is a time when you have to stay at home. But with electricity, water, gas, and an optical fiber cable connection, you should be living in a smart home. Everyone, however poor they may be. And I think that is something when we are starting to set up, the time comes that yes, we need definitely green buildings. We definitely need sustainable buildings, and we need to live in a country where a population of ours becomes an asset rather than a burden. Now for that, this movement, in our time, we used to talk vaguely. When I was in school, let me tell you, I finished school in 71. And at that time, the movement used to be that let's get aware of environment. Today, there is no child who is not aware of environment, is not aware that there is a great need for not only reducing the carbon footprint, but also removing away pollution and having a home which gives you a very, very good life. So therefore, I'm quite certain that we need to make buildings, whatever be the spectrum, whether these are residential buildings, commercial buildings, and or even retail buildings, we need to provide them in a very clean manner. One will be the architectural form. The second part, I think, when there's so many architects who are here in this audience, it should be that what should be the height, because technology and cost changes very much when height increases. Third, I think we've all realized that tree plantation is a necessary thing. There are very good steps taken by the Supreme Court in Delhi when the ridge was declared a protected area. And more than that, I think the government became aware in Delhi during the turn of this millennium that Delhi was the first place to form an eco task force for 2,777 hectares in the Asola Bhati mines, which was funded 100% by the Delhi government. And that time, Mrs. Dixit was there. They did raise revenues. They had a good surplus, and they funded the entire eco task force. We are 20 years down from that, and we now know for a fact that there's not only trees growing there, there's also wildlife, as much as even leopards have been spotted over there. So therefore, an effort can be made, and it should be made, first of all, to make a larger green earth and a green country called India. One of those instances is that while we very often take roads through sanctuaries, my own personal point is that whenever we come through a sanctuary, it must be a raised road. It must be on a height elevated road, because basically the sanctuary belongs to the animals. If we are taking a shortcut through it, let's actually go on an elevation. When it comes to buildings which we are making, I'm quite certain that yes, new materials are coming in. Plastics have to be reused so that we don't burden earth with plastics. And then whether it is solar power, whether it is gas-based power, we need new sources of energy, wind, and of course, electricity. So we need renewable sources of power coming into play. And then once electricity is given over there, new materials have come in there, I think we need to worry about good, clean air, which again will call for a lot of greenery, and good, clean water, which is the basic sustainer of life. We all have been talking about water harvesting, rainwater harvesting. I think it's time that we made it essential in India, and maybe young minds like you will give us even greater headroom that what we should do. But we should be doing water recycling on a massive basis. I know for a fact that you can have towns and you can have development which sustains itself through water recycling. I know in the Cyber City here, we're doing water recycling 4 times. It's used for toilets, of course. It's used for air conditioning. It's used for cooling gas turbines. And then it's used for actually taking it to what we have over there. We are lucky that it was designed with a green fulcrum, which is the golf course. Lots of water bodies over there, all connected, where water is aerated through fountains, where it is cleaned up. But pipelines may be taking the water to the golf course and the water bodies there. Something which is perhaps unknown is that there is a reverse pipeline there. In case of ever a requirement for large quantities of water, which may not be available in the building itself, you'd be surprised that there are provisions to pump the water back if called back from the water bodies. So I think we need to design more and more areas where there is a possibility of water recycling a number of times. Similarly, maybe in other towns, other areas, and especially in rural areas, I think we need to come down to check dams. This country definitely needs about more than 1 lakh check dams. There is a movement going on in various states. There is a government which is doing, but I personally feel that the larger the amount of check dams, the greater life will change in rural areas. And each one of you, we've heard of great architects here who built homes, who built structures which are highly sustainable. But I'm quite certain with the green, the green buildings that we are designing in future, there will be all the more room that where light is used to generate, sunlight is used to generate power, where wind power comes in, where drainage, sewage comes in for reuse, and thereby we actually have a much lesser carbon footprint, and we start using electricity once we do away with fossil fuels. So I'm quite hopeful that the cities of the future, and definitely in India, where we do have a high density of population, we need to adopt green measures, and therefore GRIHA, the understanding and the collaboration between NAREDCO and the IGBC and the GRIHA rating will become more and more important and a regular part of our lives. And in this endeavor, I'm sure experts like Dr. Suresh, Dr. Hariharan, and of course, all young people headed by Ashish, Payal, every one of them will come forward and contribute to a much greater economic turnover and a much better, cleaner, and a wholesome life and a healthy life. I'm very grateful that you called me here to this deliberation. I want to learn myself from your views. Therefore, I better keep quiet and hand over the mic back to Preeti, and through her to many more learned people than I am. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you so much, Rajiv sir. One thing I must say that I would like to address over here, that under your dynamic and able leadership, NAREDCO is being able to do a lot of work for green building and sustainability. Under your dynamic leadership, only in last 2 years, we have conducted 3 programs with IGBC, where we had Shri Suresh Bagre, sir from Ministry of Housing Urban Affairs, talking about promoting green building and sustainability. So all that initiatives are being taken with your approval and blessings only, and we are really grateful that we have a leader like you who thinks about the future generation too. So thank you so much, sir, for taking out your precious time and your great inaugural speech. Now, moving ahead with today's panel discussion, I would like to invite Shri V. Sureshji, Chairman, India Green Building Council. Vasudevan Sureshji is a civil engineer from Anna University College of Engineering, Chennai, with 53 years of professional experience in housing, infrastructure, rural and urban development, real estate development, and built environment sectors, leading to sustainable development. He has worked in Tamil Nadu Public Works Department for 1.5 years and later in Bureau of Indian Standards, served HUDCO in various capacity for almost 23.5 years and was CMD till June 2002 with HUDCO. Mr. V. Suresh has worked in various Government of India expert groups on housing, urban development, building technologies, disaster mitigation, and sustainable development. Mr. Suresh was Chairman Government of India Task Force for Odisha Cyclone and Kamalai Earthquake. V. Suresh sir was President India Building Congress, President National Real Estate Development Council, Vice President All India Housing Development Association, and Vice Chairman Construction Industries Development Council, CIDC. Sir is the chairman of CII India Green Building Council. He is actively associated with institutions dealing with professional education in built environment sector and also for skill development initiatives. I welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for making this on time, as we were getting this request that you might be late, but we are really happy to have you on time. Please, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Preeti. Very happy. Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, let me first greet Rajiv Talwarji for Chairman NAREDCO for his wonderful presentation, which he has indicated with his very wide experience over 5.5 decades in the sector. My own colleagues, Chandrasekhar Hariharan and Ashish Rakeja and Payal Jainji, and Ashish Malikji, Director of the Axis College, and all the distinguished delegates, students, and other participants in the program. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to the World Green Building Week, which is starting today, and the PJMT taking the whole lead for organizing this program, for organizing this particular program for whole week with activities from Monday till Friday. We just came out of another program, myself and Payal, of the RICS School of Built Environment at 2 o'clock, since they also had a 5-day program of the events taking place on all the 5 days under the World Green Building Week initiative. I had in between that meeting with the Defense Secretary at 2:30, a very successful meeting, how IGBC can make a major inroads into the defense development in the country, of be it all the 58 cantonments and other related areas. That's why I could not come, but I still joined at about 3:06. That meeting started on time at 2:30. So sorry for that. Anyway, I think let me come down to the main issue. I got to just give some larger messages there. The whole theme of the World Green Building Week, the World Green Building Council, is all come as a result of the initiative that we have done as part of the World Green Building Council. We are part of it from 2004. We are one of the 70 countries which are part of the World Green Building Council. And we are very happy that this continued association really brings in the best possible input at the global level. And this year's theme is on building resilience on climate, people, and economies. Normally, any initiative of this nature of sustainable development, they always cover the 3 major components of planet, people, and profit. These are the 3 things they should talk about. All that has happened this year is people continues to be where they are. The whole planet, they're taking the climate component there. And as far as profit is concerned, they took it a larger level of economy coming over there. The socio-economic development issue, the impact that it can have in the current context of the 2 years continuous COVID and a related one. So therefore, what type of resilience we have to build in all our buildings or built environment in a large way, that's a major theme under which we are going to discuss in this particular meeting. And I'm very happy that PJMT's program for the next 5 days is fantastic. Starting off with Ashish's presentation, going to be immediately after our formal words of welcome. Congratulate Payal for the great initiative for PJMT for the event on that. All I want to tell at this particular moment is that since the theme is very contemporary and very impactful in the context of the climate change agenda, the 2030 Sustainable Development Goal agenda that we have to achieve. We have only 9 more years to go for that. And a larger message of the climate change agenda with the decarbonized environment for 2050. So we have 2 major goalposts and visions to be achieved over there next 9 years and next 21 years. And large number of good initiatives are happening. Today, just now, the Honorable Prime Minister is inaugurating one of the biggest programs in the Rann area in Kutch with 8 hectares of 80,000 square kilometers of area, 32 gigawatt of the solar energy program to make it part of the 125 gigawatt by 2025, its contribution there. And at the same time, a larger message of 450 gigawatt of renewable energy to be done by 2030. So a large number of initiatives are coming. IGBC in its own way through all its rating systems have been trying to make all efforts over the last 20 years to integrated water management, energy management, waste management, carbon footprint reduction, to make it the overall area to be green and sustainable in a large way. Through each one of those interventions through the 29 rating system, we achieved about 7.86 billion square feet of green footprint. For a country of this nature, we require to do much, much more. We'll be achieving maybe 10 billion by next year. But I think each one of you partners are going to play a very important role in getting this message. And Rajiv Talwarji rightly said how you take it not only into the larger component of the luxury housing and premium housing, get into the bottom of the pyramid for even the low income group and weaker section. And that's where we rightly brought in our rating system to cover the affordable green homes in a large way, to cover all those houses which are smaller housing of the weaker section, low income, about 600, 700 square feet, even lower middle income housing in a large way to embrace the green way. And I'm very happy, therefore, I was talking to the Defense Secretary's meeting, our own meeting with NAREDCO as a partner with the Additional Secretary Housing of Dr. Bagde was extremely important because he is now taken over as the Additional Secretary Housing, and how best we can introduce all these elements as part of the larger program of the government. Therefore, we will take it forward in a large way, which Preeti briefly mentioned about that meeting there. But larger message is that how do we as a organization take forward this message in terms of specific action? Lot that can be done in terms of the climate agenda that requires in the context of IPCC report that's already brought out, the temperature increase that can likely go to 2 degrees. How do you bring it down to 1.5 degree by 2050 is a big message coming across. The water level rising, glaciers melting, and therefore that brings intense rainfall. All the major cities as a result of that started flooding, not only here, New York, Paris or Berlin, every city got flooded. So there are major clear signs that climate change is a real component on which we can't take it lightly. You need to have interventions of a very large nature in the planning and design of the built environment, not only at the township level, at the building level, at even the city level. We need to deal with that in a very large way. And more importantly, to deal with the issues on very high intense rainfall and how do you take a stormwater drainage and the rainwater harvesting, hydraulic paths to be respected, lakes to be respected. How do you respect nature in a large way is a powerful message. When you talk of planet climate, you're talking into all the climate related elements that come over there. How do you respect that? All the Panchbhutas of the universe, how do you respect that? The whole green building rating are all centered around those particular areas there. And we have, what a great opportunity for us to do it under the aegis of the Prem Jain Memorial Trust, where Dr. P.C. Jain himself has given a clarion call right from 2007 when he took over till 2018 in the Green Building Council to make all our ratings to be entirely in line with the Mother Earth and the respecting all the elements of nature in a large way. And I'm very happy, I was mentioning in the other program also, the chapter on sustainability added in the National Building Code is directly under his leadership, done in 2016, which is now the only framework available in the world for sustainable development to be done. What is the framework under which we have to do that? We have, fortunately, India, the document available. All we have to do is just take it forward and start implementing that particular thing. Talwarji told many things. I will not repeat that, but I think we talked particularly on energy as well as water efficiency in a large way, rainwater harvesting. And these are important components of even population gets increased from 100 crores to about 137 crores. We are 137 now. We'll be around of the order around 170 crores by 2030, and about 60 crores or 600 million will be in urban areas. That's going to be a very big number. And therefore, how do you deal with that? Very intense population in only 5% of India's land area, only 5%. The 660 crore people are going to be there. 70% of GDP is going to come from that. So all this development coming in the cities as well as in the rural area, how do you make them sustainable is a very powerful message. So then in case what you do that, once you do that from those areas, automatically after the people and people's impact will come in a large way, and their own economy and living conditions will come. Our COVID really brought the issues of how nearly 2 years we came down to a grinding halt. We are picking up in a large way, 75 crores of India getting already vaccinated. We'll cross 100 crores mark in another about 15, 20 days time period. We're first in that. So these are good signs for us. But IGBC itself has done phenomenal large amount of things in the COVID context. The design changes that's required in various, maybe the housing or offices, another related one. Infection control, another related one. We have brought in all those messages in a very large way to implement. To the PJMT team, that I want to say is that you're doing a great job, and I'm really impressed at the way in which those particular program slices have been added from today onwards till Friday. So special credit and thanks to Hariharan and also to Ashish Rakeja and the team in PJMT for doing that. The best possible speakers coming, we're trying to bring that. I should not be talking more than what I have done. I was asked to do in 8 minutes. I think I kept it within that time. Thank you very much. All my very best wishes. Our whole team of IGBC and the team and all the 28 chapters. We got one more chapter added in Belagavi just very recently now. and that's going to increase now very shortly, but they'll all be there to work with the PJMJ team in a large way. And since this program is also curated with NAREDCO in a large way, we have a larger agenda of working together of IGBC along with NAREDCO for sustainable, green, built environment to take care of the 2030 SDG goals and the 2050 climate change goals. Thank you very much for the opportunity given, for inviting me to come and address you briefly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Suresh, sir. I must say, each word which you spoke is going to inspire so many, as we have most of our college students attending to this program, and they are aspiring architects, engineers, consultants, those who are going to build our nation tomorrow. So I've been reading the comments in the comment box where everyone is truly so impressed by each word of yours which you have mentioned, and definitely, sir, we look forward to be following your footprints, and thank you so much for your enlightening speech.
Preeti, can I borrow half a minute?
Yes,
Can I borrow?
Yes,
since you told
how can I say no to you,
sir? Students are there. One message only. I want each one of the students coming out of each colleges of architecture are doing BArch or various other courses there. All of them should become an IGBC accredited professional by the end of the course. And that's the message I'm giving. We got a new thing called IGBC accredited professional associates for students. The moment they finish the graduation, along with that, they get the accredited professional associates also. And we are doing with the 312 student chapters of IGBC doing that. And that's a good message I want to convey. Take my word, BArch along with IGBC AP, you get into the market, somebody with a sustainable development agenda, a fully rolled, industry-friendly professional. That's all the message. Thank you for the half a minute. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your stimulating and enlightening speech. Now, moving ahead, I would like to call upon Ms. Payal Jain, founder, trustee, Prem Jain Memorial Trust. Payal ji's journey in the world of fashion has a humble beginning in the by-lanes of Delhi.
Sorry, you don't need to give my introduction. Please, let's not. There is so many.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you, Suresh ji, and thank you, Mr. Talwar, for being with us today. It's a fabulous way to start the World Green Building Week for us. Doctor, of course, you have been part of this whole journey. And I think you can talk a little bit about the trust and how this whole thought of working with students started. I do want to share one line which my father always used to say, and that has stuck with me. And I think it's something that I would like the students to take back with them. And it is, if you can change the way you think about buildings, maybe what you build will change the world. And I'm hoping all the students we have here will take on this crusade and make a difference. I want to thank Dr. Ashish Malik for always being part of this. Thank you, Axis. And thank you, NAREDCO. Thank you, Preeti. So I would say thank you to everybody and leave it to Doctor to take over.
Sure.
Sure, Payalji. Thank you so much for such a short, sweet, and crisp. You never allowed me to introduce, as well as everyone knows that you're a very well-known face in the field of fashions. At the same time, your passion towards sustainability and promoting green building and taking forward the legacy of your father is a true inspiration for all of us, Payalji. Now, moving ahead with Dr. Hariharan Chandrasekharji. Sir is an Indian environmentalist.
Preeti, I think you should do much the same. Let the chat box, have the profiles. We shall move on in order to save time. Yeah.
Sure, sir. So my request to all the participants, you can read through Dr. Hariharan's profile in the chat box, and we'll share the profiles on email also. Over to you, sir.
Sure. Thank you, Preeti. And Mr. Talwar, thank you for being here. Thank you for that excellent exposition of what you believe India has to contour herself into this future of the next 30 years. Listening to another stalwart like Suresh, for many of you youngsters here, would have been a treat, a genuine treat. Look at him tracking, those multiple thoughts in his head as he speaks, always extempore. Look at it like this. In 1947, we were 300 million people. By the time Diwar was, a film that you all saw, with that Ma dialogue with Shashi Kapoor and Amitabh Bachchan, we were 65 crore people. That is therefore about double that figure of 1947. And from that time in 1976 or 77 to now, we have come to twice that number. We are today at, as Suresh ji said, we are today at that figure of 150 crore nearly by 2050. Now, what does that mean to all of you? How are we going to change these things? You heard Suresh sir speaking about how only this morning the Honorable Prime Minister has gone and inaugurated one of those large solar farms at 30 GW. That is 30,000 megawatts. Remember, in 1947, India was only 1,700 megawatts. We were 1.7 GW. Today's inauguration is 32 GW, as Suresh sir reminded you all. But what is the total generating capacity in India today of energy? We are today at about 370 GW from 1.7 GW in 1947. And what is this other future that some of these industrialists are talking about? There is one company alone which is saying that between now and 2027, they will have produced or generated capacity in India for another 500 GW, more than our current energy generating capacity. And sorry, somebody says that they can't see me, but I'm there. My video is available. So my whole point to all of you youngsters here is this. In terms of energy security, India will reach somewhere. You heard Talwar Saab speak. Very subtly, he talked about water and how there are times, he says, when there is, without using that word, he said, when we are in deficit of water, we draw water from ponds and storage tanks where we have this wastewater going, having been treated 3 or 4 times, he said. Now, what is he talking about? He's essentially saying there is no such thing as wastewater, black water, gray water, and different types of water. There is only one thing. It's called water. Now, you know, Singapore, Suresh sir has talking about this some maybe 3 or 4 months ago in another meeting. 60% of urban China, 60% of urban China uses all its wastewater, treats it, and sends it back to homes and offices and hotels and hospitals. Now, why is it that India cannot accept this one behavior barrier that we all have to breach is another question that I put before all of you as youngsters. What does that mean today when we start? Well, this Monday, we are starting this whole series of 5 days of chats. And then on the 6th day, on Saturday, we have the distinguished lecture series. It just happens to be on the 25th this week. And therefore, 6 days, we have got 6 sessions, all powerful, inspiring sessions. And today it will be Ashish Rakeja speaking on some aspects of it. There are 2 things that are happening. I will leave some 3 or 4 points before I close and, and get the rest of the meeting to be steered by Preeti from NAREDCO. The 2 things that are happening almost at the same time. There is on the one side an infectious enthusiasm. You heard these 2 stalwarts speaking. Among all the green consultants, among large corporates in the world, not just in India, who are committed to sustainability. There are 250 companies which signed the net zero declaration only some 3 months ago, all of them from CII and NAREDCO and many other such industry associations, including the IGBC. On the other side, there is a massive level of ignorance among 90% of water users and energy users. Ask your neighbor, ask somebody who's living on the same floor in the apartment, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Why is it that we can't make them understand of the criticality and the dire crisis that is before all of us is a question you should be asking of your own friends and classmates, and of course, neighbors in places that you live in. The Carbon Compliance Protocol offers this decade of the 2020s, for full compliance on net zero energy. But then that's for new buildings. You heard Suresh sir speaking about how when you talk new buildings, you're actually talking about net zero and its compliance coming about by the end of this decade itself. However, the government has also given for existing buildings, as retrofit solutions go, time till 2050, right? And therefore you have 29 years or whatever in order for you to see that you're able to reach such levels of compliance in industry, in residential segments and other segments too, wherever we use energy or water. So net zero is not enough. Last week, says the Environment Minister Bhupender Yadav, that net zero is not enough. He says there has to be what he has termed as a new phrase, and this is something you all have to carry back into your learning and living. He said there has to be something called deep emission carbon cuts into the future, into the current immediate future. He's talking of between 2021 and 2030, and he's
voice is gone. Chandra's voice is gone.
Yeah, Dr. Hariharan, we can't hear you.
I think the internet
I
problem
think
is
disconnected. Connection. Some connection problem must be there.
Yeah. That can be a major hassle. When our discussion with the Defense Secretary was that we had a little problem of connection, not mine, but.
So we'll wait for Dr. Hariharan to join us back.
I think we should continue because he has more or less he has already done his opening.
We should continue with the.
I think.
Sure.
Because the time, look at the time also, we are 3:45.
Yes, I would like to invite architect Palak Patel, Professor Architectural Department from Access College. Architect Palak, over to you, please, for your welcoming speech and addressing our participants and eminent speakers today.
Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry because Ashish sir could not join today because he got busy somewhere. So first of all, I would like to welcome all the dignitaries to today's event. And I would like to thank PGMT for giving us this opportunity to be a part of this World Green Building Week celebration. Secondly, I would like to thank everyone for taking out time and being here today. We have been associated with PGMT since a year. So last year also, we had an expert talk session on World Green Building Week 2020. And it has been a really amazing journey with PGMT. Like we and our students, we are continuously learning, we are growing with their association. In fact, I want to tell you that we have started implementing sustainability in our buildings as well. Our students, their approach have changed. They have started designing in a different way. So I just want to simply give a brief how we are moving towards sustainability, what Access College is doing towards it. So last year we have installed solar panels in our building blocks. So we are meeting around 20% of our total energy demand. Very good. And we have further plans that we have thought that we'll be implementing these solar plants on other building blocks as well. So we'll be meeting around 70% of our total energy demand through these solar panels. In fact, we have solar water heating system in our hostel building block also. So we are trying to cut off electricity consumption from taking from the grid. And in fact, we have rainwater harvesting tanks in our campus. So the surface runoff water from the pavement area, we collect that water and we use it for groundwater recharge. And the best part is that all the new building blocks which we are designing, the architecture department is doing the designing. We are focusing that all the new building blocks should be a sustainable building so that we can contribute towards sustainability. The Access College wants to contribute towards sustainability. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Palak. We have Dr. Hariharan back with us. Dr. Hariharan, sorry, you got disconnected.
I know. All my fault, actually. I talked too soon about energy security. And I ran into a small challenge where I was sitting. I'm sitting in some place about 6 hours from Bangalore, and network has not been the best. Well, I don't want to take too much more of your time, all of you youngsters out here. You will hear Ashish Rakheja speak. He will speak of the trends, and he is coming from a very authoritative context on what these designs will mean into the future and how buildings will move away from air conditioning, if I know Ashish right. And Ashish has been working in this space for 30 years. In these spaces of cooling and heating buildings, he should know what he is talking about. I will only say this much. Please sign in for all of the sessions that come up this week. You have a very, very rich treat of thought and insights and perspectives that are coming up from various leaders. Two people, both the people who spoke earlier, Mr. Talwar as well as Mr. Suresh, spoke about the Additional Secretary, Sri Bagde, having said that India clearly is moving towards a default green. The Additional Secretary said that in a meeting of the NAREDCO and of IGBC. And you will see, therefore, when youngsters speak the way, that they are all speaking today, you can see that these are people who are coming from solutioning sustainability. They're not talking about any more preaching of values that we need to be taking on. Well, the week-long Festival of Thoughts begins today. And all I will say to you now is that the challenge is to awaken the 90% of users and generators of waste to this challenge of reducing carbon, reducing energy, or optimizing use of it, and of course, bringing that balance with commerce and conservation. Over to you, Preeti.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hariharan. Moving ahead with Mr. Ashish Rakheja, Managing Partner, Eon Consultants. Not taking much of the time, looking at the time, I would request all the participants to read the brief profile of our eminent speakers. I like to share 2 lines about Mr. Rakheja. He's a specialized in high performance buildings and has been actively involved in leading design activities of electromechanical services for 10 net zero energy buildings and over 40 platinum rated green projects in India. Mr. Rakheja is an active member of 20 technical societies. He regularly contributes his time on writing standards, codes, and position papers for government bodies and technical societies. Welcome, Mr. Ashish Rakheja. We are looking forward to your informative presentation, sir. We have been waiting for this presentation.